Hey guys, why did the Mon Calamari give the rebel fleet their ships?
I don't know.
They're not shellfish.
Jesus.
Oh,
I'm
I don't even
I'm
think the
sorry.
Grogu glasses.
I don't know what's worse, that joke or those glasses.
That's just-
One of us that's
That's not a moon. It's a space station.
Always a pleasure to meet you.
And my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
You failed, Your Highness. I'm a Jedi.
Hello, explorers, and welcome to the only international Star Wars podcast covering almost half the world, but only 0.5% of the galaxy. I'm Jack, and as always, thank you for joining us wherever you are in the Star Wars universe.
Yes, welcome back to Explore the Force, where we cover all things Star Wars. I'm Jimmy, and as always, not to be mistaken with Grogu, obviously, if you're watching on YouTube. As always, welcome back or welcome along if you are new.
Hi, everybody. I am Charlie, and if you are joining us today for episode 149, and if you get a chance, don't forget to give us a cheeky rating, a like, a share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Jimmy, how are you doing? Clearly fabulously in those glasses.
Yeah, well, spring break ends tomorrow, so we'll record this on Sundays. I've been
Ooh.
off. It hasn't been a great break. I was sick for the first half of it,
no.
and then having an existential crisis for the second half. Getting old sucks, but no, it's good. It'll be good to get back to school, get back on a regular schedule. Sometimes I think that hurts me personally, so I think that having a regular schedule will get me back on track. What about you, Jackie boy?
Yeah, no, all good. Normal routine, normal jogging, getting busy and busy, obviously. I'm just glad that the sunshine is out now, and we're getting out of that minus 20 to 30, that weather. It's killing me. Taylor, how are you doing, darling?
I'm good. As you guys know, I'm a gardener at the zoo. Well, I do a lot more other things, but all my flowers are starting to come up and the plants are starting to come through the ground. So it's my favorite time of the year. So I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Charlie?
I am doing good. I've just finished my third week at my new job. I promise I will retire this bit soon. Don't worry, I'll start giving everyone weekly updates. I'm having a great time. I went to our works award night, which was really nice. It was interesting to see my co-workers plied with alcohol. I have to look some of them in the face on Monday morning, so that's going to be fun. Did watch my senior manager do the worm, so a good night all
Oh.
around, I feel.
Wow.
Now, for this week's tarot pull, guys, we're going to consult the cards. We're thinking the cards, we're feeling the cards, and the cards are telling me, the Hierophant, which is a really gorgeous illustration of Han Solo. There we go. Love, love, love this. So the Hierophant, this card means to embrace the conventional. It suggests that you have a certain desire to actually follow a process which has already been well established. It also suggests that you want to stay within certain conventional bounds of what you would be considering kind of the orthodox approach to things. So instead of being innovative, you will be adapting to certain beliefs and systems which are already put in place and existing. Again, I'm taking this card for me this week. I feel like I'm learning a very long established, very long standing way of working in an industry that has been going for eternity, I suppose, really. So I'm taking this one for me this week. Stick to the rules and listen to what you're being told.
Interesting. Right, let's see what we're getting told in this week's Force Encounters.
For my ally is the Force.
All right, folks. So I don't have kids, but I have some good relationships with a lot. Charlie, what's wrong? Why are you laughing at me, Charlie?
Glasses, I'm sorry, it's the glasses.
He's
Come on.
so serious with them.
I don't understand. But so I got what was I even saying now? You got me all confused. All right, yeah. So everyone knows I don't have kids or anything like that, but I've coached for a long time, and I've coached kids since they've been like 6, and now they're turning 25 and 30 and all this stuff. And one of them we're very close to, and she came home from Nebraska. She comes and stays with us sometimes with Molly and I. She brought us both back a little gift or whatever, and she brought me back this gem. And I looked it up just before we got on air. This is a first edition binding paperback, publisher by Marvel Books, Star Wars Return of the Jedi. It is gorgeous. It's not in mint condition. At mint condition, these things are selling for like, I don't know, $60 to $100, but it's really cool. Got a nice little case for it. But if you're listening, it's Star Wars Return of the Jedi. It's kind of like the whole comic book kind of pressed down like a what they call them, paperbacks or the trades or whatever. So, but it's really cool, and it's from 1983, so that's really awesome. So that's my Force encounter for the week.
Oh,
nice. Taylor, what have you got?
My Force encounter? Maybe mine's like an ongoing Force encounter. But I have been working on my Mandalorian cosplay. I won't put it on because it's the chest and it's awkward. But
nice.
Anyways, I decided to reprint the chest because I printed one that was too small and it kind of looked like I was going for the Sabine Wren look, but no. So I guess my Force encounter is just that I'm working super hard on my Mandalorian cosplay to get into the Mando mercs before Mando Grogu movie comes out. Whew.
You know, it'd be cool, Taylor, if you
What?
did the Zoolorian, and you had like all kinds of like different animal, like you know how people do like the Disney princesses and things like that.
Yeah.
Like if you could somehow incorporate like all kinds of different animals into your gear, like on the artwork, that'd be pretty sick.
Well, I was already talking to people like, what's your signet gonna be? Oh, is it just gonna be like the plain? I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll make it like some cool zoo animal, right? Like instead of it being like a mudhorn, just like an actual. Let's do this one. It'd be like actual rhino. I don't know. It's gotta be something that I've like tamed, right? And I haven't really like tamed really anything. So I don't know. We'll see when we get our new animal and at the zoo.
The bears at Vancouver Zoo.
I give them raspberries. Does that count? I decorated a Christmas tree with raspberries and then they picked it all out. Does that count? Grizzly bear?
Maybe.
That counts.
Brilliant. Awesome.
I was gonna say, surely you're a tamer of nature. Is that not a bit cheesy? That might be a bit cheesy.
Yes, because I'm the landscaper. Oh my gosh. See, I just needed to talk to you guys about it. Like some like crazy plant. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
Decided.
Charlie, what have you got, Charlie?
Oh, so I've got a few this week. So firstly, I'm a terrible friend. I completely forgot to mention this last week. My wonderful friends Matt Crimson Cosplay and their partner Jay popped to Echo Base Live, and even though I wasn't able to attend, they brought me back a little gift. So we have a Death Star, but guess who's inside?
What?
It's Jar Jar in a Death Star.
Love it.
Is my camera gonna? Is it gonna? There
a
we
cartoon.
go.
He's so cute.
He's really cute and he has really sparkly eyes, and I'm kind of obsessed, and he will be going straight on my Jar Jar shelf. And Matt and I have been like kind of side by side parallel collecting Jar Jar Binks merch. The first time we went to an Echo Base together, the pair of us were like scanning the entire place and then comparing and be like, if I have that, then you can have this, and then do you want to get that, and then we'll swap, and then we'll do like half of this, and then you can So a massive thank you to those two. And also, like, I know I keep banging on about work, but this whole last week has been really kind of Star Wars heavy. I feel like I've connected with so many people that, like, some of my new co-workers over Star Wars, and it feels like I've been able to really like bond with people over it. And it's been a really nice icebreaker because I struggle socially. I don't do very well. You guys know this. I get very awkward.
You
very
are
nervous,
awkward.
and I'm very awkward. I go mute for like a solid hour in new social situations. It's a whole thing. But Star Wars has always been like a big connector for me, and it's been really, really nice to share that, whether people like it, whether they hate it, whether they prefer Star Trek, whether they're absolutely obsessed with it. Like, it's been such a fun kind of discussion point. So thank you, Star Wars, for always and forever helping me make friends.
Nice. Speaking of friends, my Force encounter is like a joint one because we finally hit that 10,000 mark as a So a massive thank you to everybody that's continued to support us and back us and listened and got in touch with us on the social media pages. And like we always say, you keep this podcast amazing. So a massive thank you to everybody for supporting us, and well done to us guys and girls here at getting over 10,000. So here comes 100,000. Let's get it. Right, let's head over to Batu and see what news is coming out of there.
The people in this crowd will soon be among almost 40,000.
For those who are among the 900 with news media or promotional tickets, the sneak preview probably would be the only chance to see the Empire Strikes Back without standing alone.
Oh, guys, this is some hot new Star Wars stuff on theme with tonight's episode. I do declare, there is a new USA only TV spot for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Thank you to the guys at Fantatrax for picking this up. I believe you were one of the first stories to publish about this. I feel like this is so hot and so fresh. There isn't even an official Star Wars release for it. I've been doing some naughty digging on YouTube. There appears to be a few new clips and bits of footage that I don't actually think we've seen yet. Do you guys want to see?
Yeah.
I think it's just under 30 seconds, so hopefully we can get away with watching it in one go.
Sounds good.
Let's go.
Gangsters, warlords, monsters. They're coming for us.
Are you scared? You should be.
Let's go!
The Mandalorian and Grogu in theaters and IMAX May 22nd.
Ooh.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think we've got some another close-up shot of the giant worm thing. We get to see Pedro
Dragon
Pascal
snake.
like actually speaking. Yeah, the dragon snake. And that little clip of Grogu knocking on the back of Din's helmet.
Yeah, that's pretty cute. Got
Ding,
themselves
ding,
a
ding.
little. They haven't shown us anything. If you haven't seen it yet, I found it at Movie Fun on YouTube is where I found it.
Mhm.
If you haven't seen it yet, and then you're listening to this and you want to find it, Movie Fun has it up right now. Yeah, it just seems to kind of like add a little bit to the things we've already seen, except for that. It's not Marok, because Marok supposedly Embo's Anuba. Marok is supposedly like passed away, and this is a new one, as dogs will do. So, but we got that. I think that's what that was. Is up close and personal view of that. That was pretty awesome. But it's a little weird to me. I don't know about you guys, that there's not a lot of hype, and it's concerning. I know we were talking a little bit off air about some things, and that concerns me a little bit. That I found it by accident. Again, Fantatrax is how I found it. I went to Star Wars News, doing some research for us, and I'm like, why isn't this like all over the internet?
Yeah.
So the official full trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu that came out last month is sat at 11 million views. Reasonable, decent, fair enough. However, the new Spider-Man trailer that dropped only a few days ago is sat at a cool 24 million. What do we think this means for the upcoming film? Are we getting like a full Star Wars versus Marvel? Who will win? Is Marvel overtaking?
Disney wins. That's who wins.
But we've already, they do. But we've already seen this with what movie was it that came out? Solo came out at the exact same time or the same
Avengers,
weekend that Endgame came out, and everybody chose Endgame. What the hell? And we're still suffering from that. So, and I don't know. I feel like that trailer should have gotten a lot more views because it was they even had like a Super Bowl trailer for the trailer.
Yeah.
Right? And then Spider-Man just came out like bam, and everyone's watching it. Oh,
If only both the films were run by the same company.
That doesn't even make sense.
You would think they're completely different, Jack. You would think I don't understand. Like they had to have. That's a good point. Like I don't understand.
Do you think there's someone in an office and they sit opposite the corridors and like the head of Marvel and the head of Star Wars?
Just like this line down the middle of the.
Yeah,
all
we're going to be you guys.
Yeah,
a whole different level.
I just don't think people have. I'm not saying recovered from COVID, but like going back to the movies, it hasn't been like a big thing yet. Like it's still not. Like this is going to be a huge summer for movies. Starting with we saw Molly and I went and saw Project Hail Mary, and that was phenomenal. But people still aren't going to see it. Like, this is one of those movies like you could take some pretty mixed ranges and stuff like that. I'm concerned. We keep talking about is Mando and Grogu going to make $1 billion? Well, if you look at these numbers, no, unless Spider-Man's going to make $2 billion, and then Star Wars is going to make $1 billion, which I'm, whatever. Again, I don't think that's necessarily the best way to like say if a movie's good or not.
Right.
But it seems to be what the executives at Lucasfilm and Disney judge it on, which is unfortunate.
I still don't think that Star Wars is for kids. I still don't think they're hitting that market quite right yet, and I don't know how, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, when we get into the main topic, I have some concerns having rewatched all of Mandalorian season 1. Like, I watched 4 episodes Friday and 4 episodes yesterday, and we'll get into it. I'm kind of, well, we'll see. I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, so, and more news, good or bad, you take it how you want it. John Boyega attended MegaCon Orlando this weekend and was inevitably asked about return for Finn, prompting one audience member just to scream out loud, "Get Dave Filoni on the phone." To that, Boyega replied, "I actually have, actually." Now, Dave Filoni has been appointed the president and chief creative officer of Lucasfilm after Kathleen Kennedy's departure. Do we dare say that it feels like something may indeed be happening here? We know Filoni is a big fan of Simon Kinberg's upcoming post-episode 9 trilogy, and it could be there or a long-delayed Rey movie that Finn finally returns. As long as they give him a good line, a good story, and he doesn't scream all of his lines at Rey. Rey! Rey! I gotta tell you something, Rey! That's my best John Boy. And that's not, and that's the thing, is they just underused him.
Yeah.
I understand why he's mad. I love it if he comes back as long as they do it right.
Yeah, they missed an incredible story out there.
Oh no, 100%. And I know that he's still quite bitter about it, but also in the same breath, it's nice to see him kind of slowly coming around to the idea that I actually think the fans would really appreciate seeing a Finn return. And I know Daisy Ridley has said that she won't do a Star Wars return without Oscar Isaac and John Boyega. So fingers crossed, and we'll have to wait and see, I guess. We shall see. Now, in some sadder news, we have unfortunately lost another member of our Star Wars family. William C. Dietz, the author of the Dark Forces trilogy, has passed away. I'd like to take a moment to read the official statement from his family. They said, "With heavy hearts, we want to share the passing of our husband and father, William C. Dietz. He brought joy to many as a friend and an author. Writing was a part of him as much as breathing, and hardly a day went by where he wasn't at the computer creating more adventures. The underlying theme in all his works was one of good overcoming evil, and his wish was to provide readers with an escape from the messy, often unsatisfying endings of real-world stories. We mourn his passing, and we will continue to hear his voice in the books he wrote and the lives of those he touched through his writing, and as a devoted family man. We know that his words and his kindness will live on in all who loved and knew him. Our thoughts are with his family at this time, and may he rest peacefully in the Force."
Yes, indeed. Rest in peace. Next bit of news we have is thanks to StarWars.com. Did you know that A New Hope began filming 50 years ago today on March 22nd, 1976? Only no one actually knew it yet. On that morning 50 years ago, in the middle of a salt flat on the edge of North Africa's Sahara Desert, an independent movie produced by Lucasfilm and financed by 20th Century Fox began principal photography. Its working title was The Star Wars. George Lucas had told the film's novelization author Alan Dean Foster a few months before the start of the shooting, basically, it's a fairy tale. Star Wars is built on top of many things that came before. This film is a completion of all those dreams, using them as history to make a new dream. We highly recommend going and reading the full article. It's full of some really, really fascinating facts. So head over to StarWars.com for that. Right. Let's head over to this week's main show.
It's just a simple jump to hyperspace and we're there. What's so tricky about that?
Plenty. Can't plot a direct course to Kessel. You might want to buckle up, baby.
Before I kick in, I'm just having a little drink out of my ridiculously oversized Grogu mug for the people who are not watching this episode.
Rangers.
Thank you very much. A lone bounty hunter walks into a cantina. No name, no face, and no reason to care about anything but the next job. And that simply is how our story begins. But that is definitely not how it ends. Because somewhere along the way, in a moment I really don't think any of us saw coming, Star Wars changed again. It wasn't changed by a great battle or a great explosion. It wasn't even changed by laser swords or lightsabers. And it wasn't even changed by the fate of the galaxy. What changed Star Wars was a child. Small, innocent, and a strangely familiar shade of green. From that very moment, The Mandalorian stopped being a story about a lone gunslinger trying to survive. It was suddenly a story about family and connection. And not just connection for the characters, connection for the fans on a scale I don't think Star Wars had seen in a long, long time. Now, fast forward all the way to 7 years later, and with The Mandalorian and Grogu on the sun-drenched horizon, today we're going all the way back to where it started. Not just to remember it, but also to try and understand it. Because if all of this is the beginning and the next great Star Wars saga, then everything we needed to know started right here.
Yes, Explorers, today we are kicking off a brand new series titled The Road to the Mandalorian and Grogu. From now until May 18th, we're breaking down everything we think matters heading into the movie. From full season recaps to deep dives into characters, lore, and theories. And don't forget to follow our Instagram for all of the extras. But for this episode, we're starting with season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Ooh.
Nice. All right, folks, let's rewind to 2019.
Uh,
Well, not physically. Let's just remember the good times, right? Do any of us really know what to expect from a live action Star Wars show? What I want to know now, before we dive into this, one, your first take on season 1, this many years ago, 7 years ago now. And if you rewatched it, where are we sitting? So who would like to go first?
Don't all jump at once.
Go on, I'll go first. So my first reaction to The Mandalorian, so ashamedly, you're right there, Jimmy.
Yeah, these things are killing my face. I'm not made for an adult.
My first reaction to The Mandalorian is I didn't want to watch it when it first came out. I wasn't that interested. I know. I put it off and put it off and put it off and said I wasn't going to watch it. And eventually it reached a point where Nick and I were like, should we just stick it on? Can't be that bad. Can't be that terrible. Let's just stick it on. And I spent the entire first episode absolutely kicking myself that I'd not watched it sooner. My jaw was on the floor. I absolutely mind blown.
What caused you not to want to watch it, Charlie? Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind sharing.
No, I think it's the same way I felt about like kind of Solo and Rogue One. I think at some point in my Star Wars fandom enjoyment, I was actually quite a purist. Like I was a heavy purist. I didn't want anything to do with Star Wars unless it was the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy. And that didn't really start softening until the sequel trilogy came out. And even then, I was still like, oh, it's not Han, Luke, Leia, Anakin, Obi-Wan, or Rey. Therefore, ergo, am I really going to enjoy it? Is this for me? Am I going to be interested? And lo and behold, it was absolutely mind-blowing. So boo-boo the fool me.
Nice. Jackie boy, what about you, bud?
Mate, the hype was real. Like it felt like Christmas. This is the first live-action Star Wars TV show we've ever had. Expectations were, well, nothing, to be honest. I've been watching a bit of Star Trek, stuff like that, trying to understand what we were going to get. And I just remember that opening scene, man. And like within the first minute, I'm like, yes, this is what we're after. This is what's been needed. And yeah, even the first episode, this set the bar going forward for everything. Also a bit of devil's advocate as well. It's obviously why I think Book of Boba Fett sort of fell short. I think people are expecting a similar thing. But I think this is why it pleased so many people as well, because it did fill in that gap for them until we waited for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just blew blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I just wanted more. And I remember it breaking Disney Plus. I remember because so many people were trying to watch it, and then the Star Wars groups I'm on. The chat was going crazy. You know, everyone's trying to avoid spoilers as normal, and it was just insane. And you know, just putting the phone away until the following day, so I didn't see any spoilers and things like that. But yeah, it blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I think they hit the nail on the head, buddy.
Yes, nice. Taylor, about you?
I remember getting ready to watch it, like seeing there wasn't a whole lot of trailers for it. And I think we know why, because it was keeping this crazy secret that nobody knew about, this little green secret. And like, I just remember thinking like, oh, my husband's going to love watching this one with me because it's like Mandalorian. It looks like Boba Fett, like Mandalorians, weapons, bounty hunters. Yeah. Like, so it looks like I was ready for it, right? And then as soon as that first scene happened, it's just so westerny. So right off the bat, it didn't really feel like Star Wars right off the bat. It was like, ooh, old Western, okay. And you could practically hear like the spurs jingling as he like walked into the cantina, right? Like it sucked me in right away. It was just like bam, and then all of a sudden it was over because you were just so sucked right into it. I loved it. But the way that this story turned, completely not that we were expecting it, just like sucked even more people into it. Sucked me right into it even more than I originally liked. So
nice. Yeah, I remember getting up, I think, because I had school, because it was, what were they releasing on, like Thursdays or Wednesdays or something back
like
then?
a Wednesday, I think.
I want to say Wednesday.
Yeah, it was like a random. For some reason, I feel like it was like a Friday the first time or something. Then they kind of started changing things around. But yeah, whatever it was, I remember getting up at 5 a.m. to watch it, and I beat the crash of the servers and stuff. Because I got up right when it released, and I watched it twice. Was pretty hyped for it. It was pretty awesome. And yeah, like you guys said, it just didn't really know what to expect going into it. I had seen some behind the scenes footage stuff at Celebration Chicago. A lot of people were down on it there. I thought it looked pretty cool. Like everyone like, oh, it's not finished. I'm like, well, it looked pretty Western. I mean, what do you want? Like, it's a Western. It's supposed to be gritty and stuff like that. So I thought it was pretty fun right off the get-go. It really kind of pulled me in. I don't know if I was having rewatched it, I'm like, you see things you don't see the first time, but right off the bat, man, I was pulled in. Like, there was like, oof, I'm in, and I kind of just carried on the whole way. I was surprised, and this is kind of one of the questions, and Taylor, you kind of mentioned it. The music and all that kind of stuff, it all kind of changes. Did it feel like Star Wars to y'all? Like, we had never gotten anything like this. We've only ever seen it on the big screen and animation on television, with that music and things like that. Did it feel like Star Wars to you right away? And Taylor, you kind of said, how did you feel about it? Like,
well, I wasn't getting like crazy Star Wars vibes off it right off the bat. Besides there being like aliens and stuff right away, which was really cool to see, just like that original, like kind of like the cantina in A New Hope, like just all these beasts and stuff. Like it was or like all these people. So it was pretty cool. But just I don't know. At first it wasn't that Star Warsy tone, because even when we're out in the desert in like on Tatooine, you're not getting like this crazy Western feel, right? It's more like desert feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but it's almost like now that The Mandalorian has done so well and it's proved itself to be like true Star Wars, at least in my eyes. Now, as soon as I play that first episode, I'm like, oh, Star Wars, right? Because it's like earned it. But at first, I was like, what is this? But I still really liked it. Yeah.
Jack, did it feel like Star Wars to you?
Yeah, I'm similar to Taylor. Not straight away. I think, especially again with the first scene with the decapitation from the door, etc., because it was a bit like, whoa, okay. And I think it did start to feel a bit more Star Warsy when he's gone down to talk to Grief Karga, etc., and talking about bounties and all the credits are coming out. I think at that point, that's when it started to sink in a little bit more. But yeah, similar to Taylor, it didn't quite set the tone, but it wasn't. It was a bad thing because it still captured. I think what it is because it's brand new, you just absorb straight away. And I think that's the thing nowadays is if you haven't captured your audience within the first 3 to 4 minutes, they're turning over. So
Charlie, when you finally came around to watching this show,
Oh
you got off
God,
your
you're
high
never gonna let
horse.
me live this down now.
Once you got off your high D-back and you hopped down to the ground to scare people.
Yeah, very good, very good. See, I feel like I'm the opposite of like Taylor and Jack. When I studied fine art at university, when we were learning about kind of, we did a section of like film study and kind of visual aesthetics in films and like visual language that's used to kind of represent a place and a story and the kind of ideas and concepts. And I think like The Force Awakens, if we're doing a compare and contrast, is so heavily Star Wars, like so heavily all of those recognizable elements of Star Wars because it's trying to replicate A New Hope. And I think The Mandalorian knew that it needed to do something a little bit different. And I think the opening scenes where you see the hints of like the desert, 100% the way to go. Everybody knows that if there's deserts, it's probably Star Wars related. We know this. This has been long established as of this day 50 years ago, which is insane to say. I actually think that everything from the sound of the door mechanics to everything looking gritty and dirty and lived in and worn, and like Mando's costume looking beaten up and battered around the corners. And I know that that's something that Brendan took a lot of pride in and a lot of time in to piece together to make it look as authentic as possible. And it's those touches that, to me, even though I had no idea what I was watching, I had no idea where it was going, immediately I was like, this is Star Wars. I'm in the X-Wing pilot seat. I'm ready to go. Like, this is Star Wars. They got it immediately, but in a way that still felt really fresh and really new and really like different. So yeah, interesting. I find it interesting that it took you guys a little bit of time, but for me, he was delayed watching it. I was like, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars.
I think as soon as you walked into the cantina and they started they're speaking Hadith, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. This is real. To Mando, just started. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, and Star Wars, you had no problems with it. I thought and I was right. We were on for a pretty cool adventure. Thinking about the season overall now, because that's kind of our first. We got pulled into it, then we watched 8 episodes. Are you surprised by the scale of things? Because I'm trying to think of leading up to this. Because we had Clone Wars animation, that's the galactic battle. So those are always massive. All the Star Wars movies are massive. This is a much smaller scale. I know we get a lot of stormtroopers. I mean, we have like a platoon of stormtroopers at the end, and a TIE fighter, and a Moff that we don't know. But were you guys surprised by how small it was? Did you like that? Did it enhance it for you? Was it kind of cool? For me, it was like, oh, this is like a little corner of the galaxy where these remnants, I had read the Aftermath series and I knew that there's these overlords, running around trying to control their areas. So I thought this is perfect. It doesn't have to be too nuts. It can just be small, kind of right there. Then of course the Darksaber pops out and you're like, oh, okay, there goes that whole that whole idea. But how did you guys feel about, like, I don't know, did you like that? Did it feel large or small to you guys? I guess I shouldn't assume that it felt small for everyone.
I think it felt small, but it was good because Luke's story starts small. Anakin's story starts small. They're these small characters on these small backwater planets with little to their name, little to their backstory. And I think it was really nice to see that kind of beginning point reflected. And the first couple of episodes, like they branch out pretty quickly into this wider world. And yeah, man, we'll get to this in a little bit when we talk about Din Djarin, but obviously his story stays quite kind of narrow, but everything else around him expands and expands and expands. And suddenly you realize that you're rolling this snowball down a hill and it's very, very quickly becoming an avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Charlie. I think pretty much hit the nail on the head there with, that explanation of how it goes into an avalanche, because even though it did seem small, it was very well contained and controlled. Like nothing seemed like too big for the TV series, if that makes sense. Like, so yeah, no, I totally agree with what Charlie said there.
I liked how it felt small, and me, I like behind the scenes stuff. So like I like watching the behind the scenes after like a film has come out and stuff like that. And this kind of felt like behind the scenes of what's actually going on in the galaxy, behind these main characters that we've seen for so long. So for me, it made the world, it was world expanding, because it was like, this is just somebody else behind the scenes doing his own story. And it connected so well by these tiny little things, right? Like, I don't know, like when we see the Sandcrawler and we start seeing stuff like that, that does connect to these big movies, it almost like connects it in that way. But I liked how it was just this no-name person in the background, no one special. I liked that. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Oh, ignore me. We're going all over the place. So everybody, listen. It's because I can't stop thinking about Grogu, but we are going to get to Grogu. I promise. Our little green jelly bean. We're getting there. However, I want to talk about Din Djarin first. I feel like we need to talk about him, the Mandalorian, the rootin' and tootin' cowboy in the Wild Wild West. Sorry, that's the wrong cowboy.
Is it driving you crazy?
Rootin' Stootin' cowboy.
In the
my gosh. All right. Yeah.
Woody's Roundup. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So let's talk about the hero. We don't even get his name until the very last episode, I think, or 7.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was 7 or 8 that we got that. They all kind of blurred together last night. Because he really isn't your typical Star Wars hero that we've had so far. At least I don't think so. He's not a Jedi. He's not royalty. He's not even trying to save the galaxy. He's a lone wolf, a singular entity. He does have the covert, but he seems to be kind of on the outside of that.
Yeah.
He gets bullied whenever he's there. So what makes Din Djarin work? You guys think it's more because he's like this classic, star, like, is it the aura of him? Like, we've always talked about space Western and we're finally getting it, or what was it for you guys that really made, or did he not work for you guys?
He's super relatable. Yeah. No, he's super relatable because I don't know about you guys, but how many people have cars that are running like at top, like perfectness? We don't, right? So he's got little issues going on with his ship. He's got like you're right. His armor has the story, the history. He doesn't have the nicest clothes, I guess. And he's just trying to make his way. Like, he's like, where can I just get a couple of credits here and there, right? Like, I don't know. It was relatable to me. So.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Like I said, I think this is what everybody wanted for Boba Fett, and I think that's why it worked for every single audience out there. Because the guys and girls that didn't grow up with the hype of Boba Fett were getting it from the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
there was no lightsabers, like you said. It's a completely spin-off version from the Skywalker stuff. It's fresh, it's brand new. So yeah, I think it just dropped at the right time that it was needed to.
Nice.
There is a lot of power in a faceless character, I feel, and it's a like, obviously, like, Boba Fett is an incredible character, kind of built into the legacy of Star Wars, well known, well loved, whether you liked the series or didn't like the series. It's neither here nor there. A lot of people saw themselves in Boba Fett because we didn't know who he was. We didn't know what he looked like. We didn't know what his face looked like, especially in like ESB times. It was just a man in a helmet. And I think recapturing that magic was a really, really smart way of recapturing all of like the original trilogy fans who grew up with it as kids and being like, here is another faceless character for you to kind of self-insert in, because a lot of the way you capture people's imaginations is giving them a character that they can self-insert into. That's how I was with Rey. That's how a lot of people were with Leia, with Luke. The list is endless, and it was a really, really powerful move. And to base the premise of an entire show off of a faceless, kind of nameless, basically, character was a bold move, and one that massively paid off. And yeah, it was a gunslinging movie, but I love me a John Wayne film. I love me a cowboy movie. I think it was so fun to have that represented in Star Wars, because it is this space opera, Western, Japanese samurai influence. It's anything and everything all put together. So play with that. And that's what we got.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I know I'm quite a bit older than everybody here, but like I told Brendan the first time we got to interview him, growing up in my house, it was Jesus and John Wayne. Right. And then Star Wars. I mean, honestly, if you walk into my dad's room, right, there's a picture and then there's a picture, right? It's a little bit lower as John Wayne, but, it was a simpler time. But, yeah, this was like, this was like, yeah, this makes sense. And I remember running around, people were like, should I watch it? I'm like, it's like Clint Eastwood and Star Wars had a baby. That's how I described it. And then I heard my principal stealing my line and got real mad at him. I'm like, hey, that's my line, man. I made that. But yeah, I thought this was awesome. I liked it. I like the fact Charlie, you kind of talked about it, and it's one of our questions here too, was like the helmet. Does the helmet hurt or hinder, or did it help? And I think you kind of nailed it out, and maybe you guys want to piggyback on this, but like having the helmet on, underneath it could be anybody. It could be anyone. It could be, I mean, we hear his voice, but you know, it could be a voice model. It could be a man. It could be a woman. It could be an alien. It could be whatever. It could be whoever, whatever is under that helmet for what, 7.5 episodes, 7 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, I think that helped. I love that mystery of it. I kind of bums me out that he keeps taking it off. And then I know why I know why they have it off for the movie trailers, because people are like, oh, it's that Pedro Pascal guy. He's cool. Oh, he's the Mandalorian. I mean, some people are going to be that. I mean, you know, we're not normal people when it comes to Star Wars. So how do you guys feel about the helmet? I think, Charlie, you kind of nailed it with what you said earlier, though.
Thank you. I think it's also, again, I'm aware this is a family-friendly show, but it feels like it's a point that I need to bring up. I feel like using Din Djarin as a main character with the voice, the body language, the physicality of it, because he does an awful lot of physical, like representing and emoting with just his body language. Again, huge thank you to Brendan. You're a massive, massive part of that. I think it unlocked something, for want of a better word, for a lot of female Star Wars fans who suddenly realized, oh, that handsome man, that might be a really handsome man under there. In fact, it probably is I like this. Why do I like this? Why am I having a really good time? And suddenly the fandom like tripled. Like I know you guys are not like Tumblr fan fiction aficionados. Taylor, maybe you'll probably be included in this. I cannot understate the cultural phenomenon that Din Djarin had on like Star Wars fan fiction and like female interest in Star Wars, not to just boil women down to their fancying of characters. That feels unfair, but you know what, like you pick up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, and it's not even like him alone, I'm sorry, is attractive. It's like, oh, exactly, just his being and how he just moves. Exactly, and you're just like, whoo, and then he's also a good freaking daddy. So like, oh my god. So not only so not only did Disney get all of the men and all of the boys and all of the fathers and sons that want to watch this awesome Mandalorian bad guy, but now they've got the mums and the wives wanting to watch this, and the girlfriends are also wanting to watch it too. So good job, Disney.
Jack, are you all hot and bothered as well?
Give him that bucket of cold water. Give him that bucket of cold water. Now, this is the double-edged sword, I think, and I think this helmet does hurt his character, if I'm honest, because it goes to the extent of taking it off, having to go have a bath in the water to basically put it back on to becoming that Mandalorian. And I think they've sort of shot themselves in the foot because, again, you mentioned it takes off again in the movie. We had a whole season about him trying to have a bath so he could put the helmet back on. I get it. Like you said, with the whole character thing and emotions, and it was the same with Infus Ness. I had no idea. I stayed away from all the trailers for Solo. I had no idea that was going to be a female underneath that
Nobody
helmet.
did.
Yeah, didn't really affect anything. I thought, I was like, yep, sound whatever. Just give me more Star Wars. But yeah, I think the whole helmet thing is a bit of a double-edged sword. What's what I'm looking for? Like overused it a little bit, I think. There's got to be
importance on it.
Yeah, way too much importance. And again, I get it. And not that many people are aware. There's 3 people that are playing this Mandalorian. We've all mentioned Brendan, amazing guy. We've mentioned Pedro Pascal, but let's not forget, we've got Lateef that's chucking himself around, doing the stunt stuff.
Of course.
So we've got 3 people in one suit there. But yeah, going back to the actual storyline with the helmet stuff, yeah, double-edged sword for me. And it does hurt the character / the series.
All right. My final Din question is, what do we learn about this character? Like, what do we know about him after season 1? Because I don't know about you guys. I don't feel like we learn a ton about him later because they start to spread off in Mandalorians and everything else. So this is the show that's really focused on him and Grogu, mostly, his decision-making skills. What do you guys think we learned about this character? Did we learn enough to carry us into this movie?
Yeah.
Because I'd like to start on this because it's something I noticed and I never thought of until my rewatch this weekend was if you watch the scenes where he's a kid and his parents are like running through the streets, I feel like he is somebody important because everybody else in the background's dressed like normal, and his parents have these red robe things on. It's kind of like Kal-El and Zor-El, and like that whole situation there where they're like these leaders of this community or something. But then we never, I guess we let the past die and he just moved on or whatever. But did we learn enough about his character to really care, or is it what we're going to talk about next that really pulled us into it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be what comes next because again, you go with diehard Star Wars fans. You think bounty hunter, you think cold-hearted. Just give me the cash over whatever they have to do. I think you hit the nail on the head again. We sort of see the similarities between how Din was as a kid to how Grogu was, and I think that's what turns him. And then we sort of get that bond with Grogu pretty much at the same time as the Mandalorian. So that I think what they've done very clever here is your love for Grogu as a viewer goes up at the same time as the Mandalorian does as well. So obviously that first reveal of Grogu, everyone goes, and you see it in the Mandalorian. He underneath again, the helmet, he pretty much goes, and then when you learn that IG is going to kill him, everyone again's going, no. So I think it's very clever what Dave and the crew did there. You fall in love with Grogu at the same time as the Mando, and your feelings as well as the Mando's feelings are developing at the same time as well. So it's very, very relatable, I think.
Nice.
I thoroughly enjoyed that pantomime rendition of Mandalorian season 1.
Yeah.
He's behind you. That's what it made me think of. I'm sorry. So I think I don't know how familiar you guys are with like the alignment chart from Dungeons and Dragons, lawful good, neutral good, all of that sort of stuff. I feel like we start the series and we know so unbelievably little about Din Djarin as a character that he falls smack bang in the middle of this like alignment chart of true neutral. We don't know what side he's on. He's probably not on anybody's side. Does he even have a side himself? And I think it's Grogu that shapes him. It's Grogu that shapes him as a character. And I think watching it back now, I see how Grogu's posed as like this side character, but actually I think it should be Grogu and the Mandalorian because the way they mold each other is different. They have different impacts on each other as characters, and yeah, I just
What about you, Taylor?
Listen,
sorry, Charlie, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead, Taylor. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I think we learn enough about him for the first season that it doesn't take away from like the mystery of him. So we learn why he is so committed to this religion because they saved him, right? It's just you can see this history that the little bits of flashbacks and stuff that we see. So him wearing this helmet and stuff, it's almost like, okay, like he comes from a different kind of background. He doesn't even have Mandalorian blood in him, so I think we get just enough from him that it kind of fits, because if we learned so much about him right away, then it'd be like, right. Yeah. So we're still learning, like even in Mando season 3 we just learned how his name actually works, right? Like his name isn't even Din. Like, I'm sorry, that his name is Djarin. Like, think about it, his name is Djarin. Din came from his master. So maybe, I don't know, they're saving some more flashbacks of his life for us, I think.
Yeah.
But and I think that they did such a good job at, yes, it's just a helmet, but damn, they have so much good emotion in that helmet. Like literally just the shift, and you know exactly how he's feeling. You know what I mean? And that just goes out to those actors like Brendan Wayne and Lateef and Pedro Pascal, if he's even there for those kind of scenes. But think about how much harder it is. You literally are trying every single tiny little shift. It's not just you acting. It's like these literally little tiny muscles. So I think they did a really good job at giving us the information that we needed for him.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
See, I think that's what makes Din like really interesting. Like you're talking about emotion. He starts the story off incredibly emotionally closed off. Like the helmet isn't just a physical helmet. It's like it's a barrier to him as a person as well. We learn so little other than yes, he's inclined to help people, even though it's against his better judgment. And that's sort of the only running thread we have. But you know who slowly cracks that open in season one? You know, Baby Yoda. Sorry, Grogu.
We called him Baby Yoda for all season 1 though. So
Even though it said the child in the
No. Baby Yoda.
the captions, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Baby
everybody
Yoda,
called
the
him Baby
child,
Yoda.
Grogu, everything. Everything does change. Obviously, everyone's getting the Grogu merch out now. that leads us nicely with the first question. Okay, so why did Grogu hit so hard with audiences? I'm going to come to you first, Taylor. Why did Grogu hit so hard, do you think?
I would like to see the baby.
The baby.
The baby. I would like to see the baby. Well, I think that first off we see his ears, right? And everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And then I think it's chapter 2 when we actually see him, and God, he's so cute. His eyes are huge. He's got little fluffies. Like it's absolutely adorable. So first off, all the women that are being forced to sit with their boyfriends to watch this are like, "Oh, I love it!" So we're sucking everybody in. And I just think, yeah, those big black eyes are just so darn cute right off the bat. And all of our motherly instincts and our parental instincts, because we were children when we first watched Star Wars, right? Jimmy was barely born, right? So now we have grown. Most of us are about grown-up age, right? 50% of us here. So we have those instincts in us already to love little things. So it was like perfect. I think it just hit perfectly for the demographic that they needed.
Nice. Charlie?
I would have to agree with Taylor. It's got to be that 4-letter word, C-U-T-E, cute. Listen, I know, irrespective of how much budget went into it, how much time, how much writing, how many storyboards were put together, I know that it took a team a very, very, very long time to construct Grogu and the design of Grogu in such a way that it invokes exactly what they were looking for. Disney has a particular knack for it. They've done it with quite a lot of characters in the past. In fact, nearly every character that you would consider iconic and adorable and oh my god, that's so precious, has a team of development and designers behind it that know exactly which strings they need to be pulling. It's the big ears, it's the tiny face, it's the big eyes, it's make it as close to a human baby as possible whilst also making it look different, because that will pull on people's heartstrings.
Fair.
He hits so hard because he's little and cute. That's lit, and also makes baby noises. Doesn't speak, just makes. It's a baby. It's a baby.
Jimmy, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look at these glasses on this,
Mhm.
this mug, and look how cute I am now, and look how hideous I am now,
Ah!
right? So, yeah, Grogu is probably the cutest dang thing we've seen in Star Wars, and I mean, even big burly men like myself who,
Man.
just kind of had our hearts melted when we saw this little guy, which was pretty cool. And then if you think about his journey over the time too, I mean, this guy, this baby, he stops the Mudhorn. We're like, holy rip, that's insane. He force chokes Cara Dune, and like, holy crap, he's using the dark side. What's going to happen there? He does what he does. He does force healing. I mean, this thing, and then he stops flames. I mean, this guy does things we've never seen.
So powerful.
Yeah, and it's crazy, all packed into this little guy. And I know there's probably tons of confusion from normie fans that they really did think this was like a baby Yoda, not knowing that it came actually after Return of the Jedi, which we had just watched. If you're watching it chronologically, you've just seen Yoda pass away at 900 years old or whatever. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that they called it Baby Yoda, but I get why they did it. So yeah, I just think it was just the cuteness, the power, the mystery. This is one of the best guarded secrets in all of Star Wars. I mean, you have Yoda and Yaddle, and that is it. And we've just basically heard Yaddle talk for the first time a couple years ago, when we were introduced to her in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And I don't even know if she spoke in the sequel or the prequel trilogy, to be honest. And then, of course, we get Bryce Dallas Howard voicing her. So, but anyway, so yeah, the mystery around this thing, cute, mystery, powerful. I mean, and like you said, it has something for everybody.
Yeah, totally agree with all the points there. I think as well, for the long-term fans, it's a new Yoda. You know, we watch Yoda die. That hit a lot of people hard, and it reignites that question of what is it? What speed is it? Where's it come from? And yeah, it just gets everyone going. Did we expect it to become such an overnight sensation? For me, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Disney knew they were onto a winner with this. Jimmy, what do you think?
No idea.
Well, first off, big shout out to Dawn, who's been on our show, and her co-worker Tamara, who I got to meet a couple years ago up north a little bit. The ones who created and designed Grogu. I cannot remember the agency that they work for, but I want to give them a shout out because they're the ones who created this phenom. I don't think sometimes they get enough credit, but I don't know if I thought it was going to be as big of a hit as he was, to be honest. Like I thought, oh, this guy's cute and it's cool and it's mystery. You know, we weren't doing the podcast yet. I was listening to a few podcasts, but I really didn't do like social media as far as, you know, the hype and that kind of stuff. So to me, I was like, oh, this is cool, new character, and maybe we'll get some things that earn. So I don't think I thought I definitely missed a train on, like, you know, buying stock in Baby Yoda.
Speaking of speaking of stock in Baby Yoda, like obviously it's quite well known in my family that I am a big Star Wars fan. However, the Mandalorian, the first season came out on the 12th of November. So by the time Christmas rolled around, they timed it just so that all of the Baby Yoda merch would go on sale, would be released for public consumption. I need people to understand I have never received so much Grogu merchandise in my entire life. That's where this mug came from. I have 2 pairs of Baby Yoda socks. I've got pencils. I've got notepads. I've got t-shirts. I've got pajamas. I think I had pants at one point. I've got cuddly toys. I've got horrible plastic models that look like Paul Daniels. I've got Funko Pops. I've got the giant Funko Pop. I've got the gold version of the Funko Pop. Like, it was a sensation. I knew as soon as I saw those little ears, that was it. It was going to go absolutely insane. It reminded me of the toy boom after the release of The Phantom Menace. Every single shelf was Grogu. Every piece of clothing, every piece of pajamas. It was everywhere, and I hated it.
Taylor, did you expect it to be such an overnight sensation?
No, I really didn't think about it like that. I just thought, I really didn't think it was going to be so huge. Like, we haven't had Star Wars like this in so long. Like, you're right. The last time we saw toys and stuff like this at McDonald's, it was like I was getting the Jar Jar thing in my Happy Meal every time, and I was annoyed, right? Like, that's the last time I remember crazy Star Wars like this. And then it's just opened the door to so much more. You're right, like kids' pajamas and like swimsuits and everything. Like, you can't even walk into Walmart without seeing Grogu everywhere. So yeah,
Grogu broke me. I mean, to be honest with you, like I was a completionist on Funko Pops for a long time. I was trying to get them all, and you know, I was doing pretty good, except for like the super expensive ones. But got to the point where they had so many Grogus, I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is insane. Yeah. You know, just within the year or two of the first 2 seasons, I mean, Grogu holding a ball, Grogu doing this, Grogu doing that. I mean, and it's just these little things. And I bought all of them, you know, and I kept buying. I'm like, I can't buy any more of these. So they kind of broke me with Grogu.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Next question I'm going to go into, and it's really, really good question, this one, Jimmy. Is this the most important relationship in modern Star Wars? For me, I think it is, because I think at the minute it's what's holding Star Wars together.
Yeah.
It's what's bringing people to the cinemas, to the TV screens. Because if you haven't got the Mandalorian and Grogu, what do we have Star Wars-wise? Ahsoka? Taylor, I'm going to start with you. Do you think it's the most important relationship in modern Star Wars?
Right now, I think it is. Everybody knows who Mando and Grogu is. Even people that don't watch Star Wars, they'll still say Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Like, everybody does. Even, like, I don't know, even people that are fresh over here from wherever, like, they see it's everywhere. It's on your yogurts, right? So.
Yogurts for the English out there?
Yeah.
Yogurt.
Yeah.
Charlie, coming to you. Do you think it's the most important relationship in modern Star Wars?
See, I want to say no, but Logically, yes, because there really isn't much else that fills this kind of like family niche. Like I think I wrote about it a little bit further on in our little script, but found family is a concept that Star Wars has used time and time and time again because it's so
Yeah.
unbelievably relatable, regardless of what um ethnic group, social group, any kind of group that you come from, you can recognize the concepts behind found family, whether that's friends you make at school, friends you make in the military, whether that's co-workers that you build incredibly strong relationships and bonds with. These people become your family. And that is such a relatable experience for anybody and everybody who interacts with Star Wars. And I think Din and Grogu have been that cemented found family. And there've been ups and there've been downs and there's been all of these sorts of things, but they've never fallen out with each other the way that you often see kind of two people in a found family relationship. Like Ray and Finn split for a while, and there's a bunch of other things that happen, but for them they don't. It's this unit that sticks together regardless, and that is something that can be so kind of powerful and moving. And I think, yeah, in not to sound harsh, but in lieu of very little else in Star Wars at the moment, I do think it is the most important relationship that we have at the moment.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
finish.
yeah, same thing. It's disappointing that it is to me for
Yeah,
some
yeah,
reason.
yeah.
Like I feel like it should be Ray or it should be whatever. I just, but I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like it's good, but yeah, I think this is probably, it's less volatile, that's for sure, than like Ray and Kylo and and all those different ships that people were doing with the
Yeah.
the sequel. And I'm not playing those down. Like those are important to people, but I mean, they just blowing things up, and no one's mad about this relationship. They have piggybacked off it quite a few times for shows, if you look at
Yes.
Bad Batch and things like that. But, so yeah, I think it is. I think maybe that's not good for Star Wars, but it is good for Star Wars. I mean, probably could do a whole show on just that question alone.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Mando decides to make, he makes this massive decision right off the bat. I mean, the first episode shoots IG-11 in the head, right? And then he's, bam, droid. I mean, he's a droidist anyways. He's not a nice guy when it comes to droids.
No.
But when we understand that later on. But
Yeah.
and then of course, my favorite episode still of all the chapters, chapter 3, the sin. He makes this decision, and it basically sets us on this. It really starts the show when he saves the child. He saves Grogu, and that has become the basis of the rest of the thing. So, is that the most important decision? What do you guys think as we're moving forward here towards a movie?
Yeah, I think it defines. Well, I think it defined the first series, but I think now, cleverly, they've gone away from that. They've moved in a different direction with it. Go on, Charlie.
See, I also have to agree. I feel like that's such a like a kind of cut and dry question of that single decision. Again, if we're playing parallel universes, if Din didn't make that decision and decided to be a heartless, horrible man and leave this tiny, innocent, babbling little baby in its pram to be like horribly experimented on by the Empire, that would A, we wouldn't have a TV series, and B, he'd be a bit of a rubbish character, to be fair. And I think Star Wars fans would hate the character of Din Djarin rather than being like, oh my God, he's a dad, it's so cute. It was so deeply necessary. And yeah, cheesy and predictable. And we saw Qui-Gon Jinn take one look at baby Anakin and go, that's my son. That's my son now. And we've seen it time and time again. We exactly claimed. We saw it with like Kenobi and young Luke. He was like, claimed, that's my surrogate child. And it's a repetitive idea, but not one that I dislike. And I think one that was tackled very differently for the Mandalorian and Grogu series. And I think, yeah. I don't think we're getting rid of them anytime soon.
Nah. Taylor, what do you think? Do you think that decision defines everything?
I think it really does, because it shows him going against what I guess his religion is, to go back and go back, like, right? So it's almost like he's making the wrong decision, but to him it's right in his heart, right? And that's where we want to connect as people, because there's so many standards and guidelines out there today. Like, you want to do something that feels good for you, even if for other people it's wrong, right? So it's almost like, I don't know, it's like that power that gives everyone the self-choice, right? So I think it makes him like a good guy. It makes us all want, oh yeah. So I think
Jimmy?
definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, without that decision, what's the show? You know what I mean? I mean, can you imagine like the hype after the first 2 episodes of
Credits roll.
Baby Yoda. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, well, we had 1 season of this heartless a-hole. Mandos suck, you know, like, they're all monsters and blah blah blah. So yeah, I mean, obviously, and I mean, it continues to drive the story forward because without that decision, we don't have season 2, we don't have season 3, and of course, we're not going to have this movie. I do think that we're finally going to break free from that relationship, or that relationship's going to grow into different ways. In the movie, I mean, with the runtime and things like that, I feel like it has to, and I feel like these characters have to evolve a little bit from season 1 because I don't feel like they do a ton in the next 2 seasons, which we'll talk about, you know, down the road here.
Yes. So even though season 1 feels small, it quietly sets up a lot of stuff to do with remnants of the Empire, hints at cloning and the complex and riddle-filled insights into the Mandalorian culture. As always, though, with Star Wars, we're always left with more questions than answers. However, what I wanted to know is what stands out to you now as something bigger than it seemed at the time.
Oh my god, the entire Moff Gideon storyline. Like all of that. I know we get like we get little threads of it in season 1. We get bits and pieces here and there, and obviously it expands into season 2, but anytime we see a bad guy, I think I kind of forget how deeply interlaced the Empire is as like a system and an establishment. They're in everything. They're everywhere. They've got fingers in all of the pies, and specifically kind of the cloning stuff. Like as soon as I think, because this was tied into Bad Batch, and there was a bunch of other stuff, and obviously all the stuff in Clone Wars, and Snoke possibly being a clone. I feel like the theories went buck wild. Oh my goodness. I remember being like active like on Reddit and the Star Wars Reddit at the time these episodes were dropping and being like, no, this can't be. People were pulling the most wild theories. They really were. I had no idea what that would mean in like season 2 and season 3, and thought, oh, it's just like this is the bad guy of season 1. No, he's like seriously the bad guy.
Taylor, what's your thoughts?
Something that stands out more now, I guess, the reveal of the dark saber. I remember thinking like, wow, like that was so cool back then, but I actually don't even think that I had watched Rebels yet. So I didn't know the whole history of the dark saber. But now we have done it on the show. We've done the history of the dark saber, where it came from and where it is now. So it actually has this huge it's almost like a character in its own towards the end of the season. So I had no idea that was going to bring so much to the later seasons.
Yeah, so. I'm totally with you on that one. Totally with you. Jimmy, anything different?
Not really. I mean, I still think there could be a storyline there with who Din Djarin was before he became a what the heck do they call them? A foundling, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think there could be something there. But as of right now, it's still just a kind of moot point. But yeah, you guys kind of nailed it with the Empire and stuff.
Cool, right. We sort of touched on it before with the whole Moff Gideon thing, but how important of a setup / villain has Moff Gideon become? Jimmy, I'm going to come to you first because you keep going last.
Man, I tell you what, I hate his dialogue. It drove me insane.
I want.
Oh, I mean, like, who talks like that? I feel like a couple of them characters, I don't know if it's the delivery. That's what made it feel really Star Wars to me, with some bad dialogue. Setting up an E-Web cannon when it is finally, it's just like so robotic. I didn't feel like there was any emotion to it, but whatever. I think he was fine. I don't think he was really that BA until he sticks the Darksaber out.
Yeah.
At that moment, I was like, holy crap. Like, yeah, he's a bad guy in the first season, whatever. He kills the client, which was, that's sad. And because he has a cool voice. But I don't know if Moff Gideon was super important until after the first season was technically over and Mando and Grogu are flying away off into the sunset, like his cowboys will do. And all of a sudden they shove a Darksaber outside of you're like, no way, it's not. And you're like, oh my God. So I think at that moment he becomes bigger, because then we know that they're gonna be pulling on stuff. But I don't think he really, we don't even see him until episode 7. So I mean, I don't think he's that important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's just another crazy Moff again. Charlie, anything to add?
To be honest, I sort of agree with Jimmy, but a setup villain, yes. I think if he'd have been like the main villain from like episode 2 onwards, I think that kind of scene chewing would have been particularly tiring. And yeah, Star Wars has a bit of a history with bad dialogue. We are all aware of this. Prequels, I'm definitely not looking at you. So a little bit of that Star Wars familiarity is always helpful. But I mean, like, this is the thing. I can't knock Giancarlo Esposito. He's an absolutely sensational actor, and I really genuinely feel like he was having the time of his life playing this role. Even though we only see him for a short amount of time, I think getting to see that expanded in season 2 and getting to see him really just like enjoy being a bad guy. And everyone in the Empire is like conceited, self-absorbed, self-obsessed, over-dramatic, ridiculous, full of evil villain monologues that would go on forever and ever and ever about how they're going to take over the world and do all these terrible things. I love that about Star Wars. I think it's so nice to keep those little bits of like cheesiness in there. So yeah, I think Moff Gideon's important.
Tay.
Well, I met John Carlos at Fan Expo a few years ago, and his personality, just his presence, you can see that Moff Gideon does have so much of John Carlos in him. And I'm not saying that John Carlos is evil, because he's actually such a nice guy. I went to take a photo with him, and he gives me a kind of a pat on the back, and he goes, "Stand up straight," he goes, "Not everybody has that privilege." And it was just like, oh! So it's like he has, like, I'm tall, so I'm a little bit taller than him, but his personality is so bold, so strong, just being there.
Yeah.
You can see it in the presence of the TV show. And no, when I saw him first on you're right, episode 7 or 8, I didn't think like, oh, this guy's so bad until we saw the Darksaber. But he definitely enjoys playing this character, and I love when we have actors and directors that love Star Wars, because you can see it. In their acting, in their work, right? Like, they're not just there for a job. You can see the passion. So I think that John Carlos was a great decision for this bad guy character. Yes, his lines, he's doing a good job with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate him. Yeah.
Indeed. Next one I'm gonna ask, and this is a really good one, to be fair. Is there anything in season 1 that it hinted at that hasn't paid off yet? For me, I think more details on Din and Grogu, for me personally. It keeps hinting at certain aspects, like Jimmy, you mentioned it with the parents, that's a great little catch. But I think there's still things that people want to know. But again, it's classic Star Wars, isn't it? We get more questions than we do answers.
For me, it's like, who is Grogu? Where is Grogu from? Like, when you watching these episodes back, when you really kind of listen into the dialogue, there are definitely hints and nudges and little threads about who Grogu is, where he's come from. And obviously, again, a lot of that gets more expanded in seasons 2 and season 3. Obviously, you get the flashbacks with Keller and Beck, Jedi Temple. Yeah.
Whoa, spoilers.
Whoa. Spoilers, guys. Spoilers. Woo. Obviously, I think we'll get more of that in the film, but I also get the feeling that the origin of Grogu is kind of going to be one of those eternal mysteries. I don't even think if we need to know that for the kind of the succinctness and filling up of the plot and kind of cycling back round again. As much as I want it resolved, I also sort of don't. Like, I wish I'd never learned who Rey's parents were, as an example. I wish that hadn't been part of it. I wish that mystery had remained a mystery. And I actually sort of seek, as much as I'm really nosy and I want to know where he came from and who his parents are, and is it Yaddle? It might be Yaddle, it might not be Yaddle. I also don't want to know. It's tricky.
Taylor, thoughts?
Kind of the same as Charlie. Like, it almost, the questions that they have, like, oh, his species, and oh, they're his species, whatever, but then they don't even say anything to do with his, like, people. All they're saying is, oh, they're a form of sorcerers, and they just refer to him as the Jedi, as his species. Like, they don't even say, oh, the little green people that are from this green planet. I don't think we're ever going to find that out because I'm pretty sure when George sold Star Wars to Disney,
Yeah,
it
he
was
did.
like you can never bring up who Yoda's species is. Like I
Yeah.
think that was part of the deal. So I don't think we're ever going to find that out. And I think that's how they kind of answered it. Like he's from a specific species where they are
I
sorcerers
think
of the
we will,
Force.
but I don't think
Yeah.
it'd be why George is around.
No. Oh, I don't even want to. I don't even want to. But my actual one question that I still have to this day is why has Din still not Djarin? Why has Djarin still not painted his armor? Why is he the only non-painted Mando? And I'm only kind of questioning that now because I'm in the middle of painting my armor. And it's like, you can't be gold, you can't be silver, and you can't be bronze. Like, you have to be painted on top. And it's like, but why?
Maybe the paint don't stick to beskar steel. Who knows? Jimmy,
But they
finishing
all
off
have
with you.
beskar, right? Or is it just like he has the most pure form of beskar?
He has the purest form of it, yeah.
Because I guess his first stuff bent when the Mudhorn like hit him and stuff, right? And that would never happen with beskar.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah, so I think the thing with the parents is the only thing, if you're looking at this just from season 1, there's a lot of stuff, Grogu used the dark side. He had healing powers. Like there's a ton of questions that we haven't gotten the answers, but we do get some tidbits here and there. And I think like Charlie and you guys said, we'll get more answers in the movie. But the only thing for me really in this season is like the parenting and stuff like that of like his, his lineage from wherever he was from. Cause it would be curious as to where, he comes from. And speaking about, the Mando, not Grogu, I don't think I would not want to be the person that has to create the background for Yoda and Grogu. I don't want that pressure. That's something Filoni should pass on to someone before he dies or something. So he doesn't have to do it either. But so we have all these questions. But now we need to bring it back to the IMAX, right? We're about 2 months away now, I think.
Yeah.
We're heading into Mandalorian and Grogu, the first new Star Wars film to hit cinemas since Rise of Skywalker. It's been 7 years, right? No,
Yeah.
how long is it? It's going to be a big one. So looking at season 1, what from this season has to matter? And is there something from this season that has to matter in that movie? Or do you think that like we've built from season 2 and 3, so go ahead, Charlie wants to go. I see it.
Yeah.
I do. This is where I will bring up, I know we've mentioned it a few times already. This is where I will bring up the discrepancies about his helmet being on and off. Because so we're given these kind of shreds of like Mandalorian culture where he's like, I never take, when the lady's like, do you ever take it off? And he's like, no, not in front of people. And that is the rule. That is the hard rule. And obviously that rule gets broken because he's dying, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Season 2 and 3, so much time is spent about like, do I wear it? Do I not wear it? Is it on? Is it off? Have I broken the Mandalorian creed? Am I even a real Mandalorian anymore? I feel like that entire plot and storyline, I feel like everything that was set up in season 1, it has to mean something more in this movie. There has to be something. Whether he like breaks and reforms the entirety of the Mandalorian religion by his actions, something significant needs to happen. Otherwise, we've done a lot of yo-yoing and a lot of buckets on and off for what feels like a whole lot of nothing. And that is probably one of the only criticisms you will hear come out of my mouth because it does annoy me.
Yeah. Oh, but not to get into season 3, but then in season 3 of the Mandos, they're combining the different sects. So in Mando, the Mando and Grogu movie, is it even going to matter because they're all coming together?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like the helmeted Mandos are like, well, this guy next to me just never wears a helmet, so I guess
do I
doesn't matter
have
if
to
I wear
like
mine anymore. I want to eat my lunch next to
exactly.
the fire, like you know what I mean. So not to throw into season 3, but
no.
I don't know what we're gonna get. Like it might be more leeway in the movie with the helmets because of season 3.
The biggest thing that's going to have to matter on this is the whole reason he decided not to hand Grogu over. There has to be an underlying reason as to why. Why did he not either shoot it or take it in for a bat? There's something still that hasn't been uncovered as to why he chose to take Grogu on. And I think in this movie, I think this is the time, the place, for it to come out. There has to be an underlying reason for me.
Yeah.
Jimmy, What are your thoughts once you unmute yourself, buddy? Go for it.
I don't know. Again, I think season one's so far removed from this movie that they've kind of hashed a lot of these things out. I think what you said, Jack, will kind of, what happened to him when he was a kid that made him want to save this, go against everything he knows. Like, we know he's not a murdering machine where he doesn't kill a kid. You know what I mean? Like, good.
Yeah.
You don't get bonus points for not killing a kid. Like, I mean, so I don't know what matters. I think maybe, he's a Mandalorian. That's how he identifies himself. I don't want to get kind of real world here, but like, you go through these stages in your life where like, you're this, you're that, you're this, is he going to kind of like, in this whole movie, this whole series, he's a Mandalorian. That's who he is. Is he gonna have to choose between being the Mandalorian and a dad at some point or something? I think it could come back to that whole, how you guys said it too, like how strict they are. Does he leave the watch and become part of Bo-Katan's group or whatever? Some little things like that. I may be missing something, having just, blasted through it the last 2 days, but nothing really stands out to me that's like super duper, important as far as like what needs to carry over. But, that's why the Dave and John get paid millions and millions of dollars to be smarter than me, which isn't that hard, and make movies.
Yes. Right, Charlie, over to you.
Well, then surely after all of this, if the movie works out, it's not going to be because of scale or spectacle or gunslinging or gravitas or any of those things. It's going to be about, I think it is going to boil down to that single relationship, that really precious, deep, emotionally resonant bond that still works between Din Djarin and a Grogu. Like, we've seen that bond tested and stretched and pushed. It's even tested and stretched in season one. Like, there's obviously, like, Mando spends most of his time running away from bounty hunters that want to take Grogu away. That escalates and builds and grows and develops throughout season 2 and season 3. So I think that's going to have to be the core of this movie, or something is seriously missing, in my opinion.
Last question then. So if someone had never seen The Mandalorian before, what's the one thing from season 1 they absolutely need to understand before seeing the movie? Me personally, I don't think there's anything, if I'm honest. I think you could see this movie and just go straight into it.
Yeah.
It's hard to answer without having seen the movie, right? I mean,
yeah.
Honestly, that's a tough question. Maybe just the fact that he kind of went against what he was supposed to do. And,
Yeah.
like we talked about, like that decision in the sin, all the way back in chapter 3 has kind of driven this story, or even chapter 1, the end of chapter 1.
Yeah, no, fair point. Charlie?
Again, this is a really, really, really tricky one. I think, arguably, I would say that I know that they're probably trying to market this movie to more the same way they did with season 1, to not just long time and long serving Star Wars fans, but like new Star Wars fans, new kids, new families, new all of that. I think, frustratingly, I don't think this movie will translate well unless you are aware of what came before and why. And I think I would just say to people, it's not necessarily about something that you need to understand, but if you're relatively new to Star Wars, I would tell you to watch at least season 1 first. Season 2 and 3, but also could take it or leave it. For the core ideas of what I think they're going to cover in this film, you need to watch season 1. You need to understand where it started and where it's going to.
Fair point.
So,
any final words on it?
Oh, I'm just determined to cut Taylor out of this week's episode. I'm so sorry, babe. I love you. I actually do love you. I promise.
Any advice to anyone that's not seen it before?
Yeah, I don't know. I think like one of the main things about season 1 Mandalorian was I remember it being that you could watch this Mandalorian TV show without having to watch any of the other Star Wars shows. So even if you haven't watched Star Wars or the movies and you want to go see this movie, you need to watch the first, and I would watch all 3 seasons, but that's where it is. It's like they don't just want people who love Star Wars in the past. They want these new people to also love the Star Wars movie that's coming out 6 years later or whatever. So 7 years later. So they've been planning this for a while. They've been trying to suck people in that don't want to watch Star Wars or haven't watched Star Wars in the past, or the new girlfriends, etc. So now all these people are going to watch it. But I don't think there's any like one little thing that you need to, I guess, pay attention to beforehand. I think you just, I don't know. Don't miss those 2 episodes of Mando that are in, well, I guess it's 3 that are in Book of Boba Fett. You need that. You need that.
Look how
Taylor just wants you to watch everything on Disney Plus.
You know what? But it does, because then it sucks you into Ahsoka, and then you gotta watch Ahsoka too. It was like their plan all along. But the one thing that I do miss is Din's awesome giant gun that he has at the beginning, like the one that just evaporates people. Bam! Like that was one of the coolest weapons he had, and he's gone in like 4 episodes. So I don't know. Just acknowledge that weapon, guys.
There we go. Awesome. Charlie, over to you.
It might be worth just somebody at some point explaining to new people the whole Razor Crest debacle, but we won't get into that now. Before we head off to claim our next bounty, we have got some wonderful fan responses for this week's episode. Jimmy, would you take it away?
Yes. Leandra at Princess of the Force, that's a great name, dropped us a DM. So season 1 of The Mandalorian really struck a chord with a lot of people. I mean, it had the classic Star Wars vibe, but it also this really fresh, smaller scale story. People love the mystery around Din Djarin and of course Grogu, and the tone was so different, kind of a space western. So a lot of nostalgia, a lot of newness, and a huge amount of heart.
Yes. Also, the Village Jedi said, honestly, the best thing about this show was the absolute rush of not knowing what it was. Can't agree more with that. So many questions, new characters, new directors, but it wasn't overwhelming. It was exciting. What a time to be alive and watch episode 1 together, genuinely not knowing what kind of incredible adventure awaited us all.
That I have to comment on, because I feel like that's a really, really, really important point. Regardless of where you came in from Star Wars, what part of Star Wars you joined in, we hadn't really experienced this since like The Force Awakens. That whole sort of going into something completely brand new where everybody was on the same page together. And I wish we'd had more of a chance to talk about it in this episode, but I think season 1 especially did a lot of harmonizing for the Star Wars fandom, the same way Andor did, that same kind of unification, stitching together of there was something for everybody. And I think that was really special. For people who can't see this right now, I've got Baby Yoda balanced on my head, and I move a lot when I talk. So this is a real exercise of balance. I'm determined to keep this here for the rest of the episode. We have one more comment from Elise/that Star Wars girl, who is a really quite big Star Wars creator. She has the largest collection of Star Wars figures I've ever seen in my life. She's an absolute icon. She said, well, my favorite episodes of season 1 would definitely be chapter 4 Sanctuary with the krill farms on Sorgan. And my favorite character from season 1 was definitely Grief Karga and IG-11. Shout out to Carl Weathers, absolute legend. Elise did explain to me that she's had the pleasure of meeting several actors from the series, including Carl Weathers and Bryce Dallas Howard. She also went on to say, also, Queel's death was tragic. Absolutely agree. So sad. I found the remnant stormtrooper banter on the speeder bikes hilarious, and IG-11's rescue of Grogu absolutely epic. And I also enjoyed Moff Gideon's dialogue and writing an awful lot. I feel like there are so many aspects of this show that resonated with fans, and I love to see it.
Awesome. Well, gang, that is part 1 of our road to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie under our belts. Next week, we're going to dive into one of the most beloved bounty hunters in Star Wars, being Embo. So bring your notepads, because we're going to be doing a pop quiz.
Trust us. You're going to, I mean, how can you not trust me looking like this?
Obviously.
You're going to be there for that one. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts about what's the most important moment in season 1. That's really what we want to hear. What do you think was the most important moment in season 1? So make sure you comment in that, on Instagram, on the YouTube, whatever, on the podcast. Let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yes, and if you have any questions or just want your voice heard, then DM us on our socials or send us an email or voice note at exploretheforce@gmail.com. And remember to like this episode, share it with your Star Wars friends and family, and to follow us on all our social media platforms. All you have to do is search Explore the Force, all one word. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out exploretheforce.com for any other episodes that you may have missed.
Also, if you want to show your support and spread the word around by image as well as voice, then head on over to Redbubble and search Explore the Force, where you can purchase unique merchandise. And a massive thank you to everyone interacting with us via our social media. I cannot believe we hit that 10K. Oh my goodness. You guys keep this podcast amazing.
Yes, you do. And finally, you've been listening or watching Explore the Force. We have spoken. We'll see y'all next week.
See ya.
Only now, at the end, do you understand?
Close your eyes. Feel it.
Wise as Master Yoda, as powerful as Master Windu.
They'll do their job well. I'll guarantee that.
I am going to end this once and for all.
You were the chosen one!